I'm going to call this random research. I read from the Institute for Scripture Research, the ISR, because it takes a direct translation from Hebrew to English, Greek to English, and Aramaic to English. Yah is the Elohim of the heavens and the earth, the first and the last and the only, and he's an extremely jealous El. He's so jealous that he doesn't even want the names of idols or mighty ones to come to our lips, and Yah is short for Yahweh, Yahweh, Yod-He, Vav-He. It's like saying Dan, Daniel, Daniel with an E. What is the difference and does matters when people say that Phil, Bob, Sam, and Aaron are the same name when no they're not, and no one in their right mind would ever believe that, and only a fool would believe that a hammer could force its creator to do anything, and there was no letter J in the Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic text because the letter J is about 600 years old. While the son of Elohim, Yahoshua, died on a stake for the sins of all humanity were 2,000 years ago, in a direct translation from Hebrew to English, Yahoshua is Joshua, and I strongly believe that the son of Elohim's name, Yahoshua, means Yahweh is salvation. The reason why I say it's random research is because I start with Columbus and it just goes through the list of everything I've ever looked up in the U.S. World War I, World War II. I mean, like bits and pieces, obviously, not major, like hours and hours and hours of long research, but you could look up each individual thing and it would be hours and hours and hours of long research. I just basically grabbed points of those all the way down. But yeah, it goes World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Cuba, the CIA, stuff like that. I wonder if I had the Black Panthers in here, to be honest. Oh, yes, and the Georgia Stones, 1 to 10, what each one says, which is pretty disgusting. And there's a few other things, top 15 shocking conspiracy theories, proven true, stuff like that. That really got me into looking into all the other criminal activities of the U.S. government and every government that basically is run by Zionism, which is, as we all graciously learned under UN Agenda 21 that was signed by silence, the entire UN was there that signed it by not saying anything. So 70% of the world was like, yeah, let's kill off the world's population. We only need 500 million people. There isn't even 500 million people in the U.S. U.S. and Canada combined, I think there's almost 500 million. What about the rest of the world? And those countries that people like Bill Gates claim we need to depopulate are run by a plutocracy, a government run by the rich. If they were actually caring about the people, they would have taken care of the people, and their countries would look like our countries. But they're greedy. It's not that there's too many of them. It's that the government is a complete joke. But anyways, let's get into this. Excuse me. Columbus, gold and spices. Yes, Columbus invaded for gold and spices, and he killed 250,000. It gets there anyways. Columbus and gold and spices, popes in a frenzy for ISIS. The church expelled Jews and said it was righteous in World War II, the Catholic Church. Columbus lied, locked up prisoners, 250,000 Indians in Haitian. He killed them, 250,000 of them. Because once he got his gold and his spices, he wanted more, and he just kept killing people because he wanted to do that. That was the founding of America, Columbus. So when Trump's like, no, it should be illegal, and we will defund any organization or anything else that says that America was founded upon slavery. But Columbus was your first invader, and he murdered 250,000 people in his first visit. Not to mention, he's robbed them of their gold and their spices. He didn't ask them nicely. He just took. (1619) slaves to change the nation. They literally just threw a bunch of slaves on a boat in 1619 and brought them to America to change the nation. America was most certainly built upon slaves. I mean, probably so was Canada, more than likely. Anyone who's part of a British colony, or was part of a British colony, which is part of a British colony, is part of that slave system. 50 million dead, black slaves, white masters. Here's the thing. So, nigger was a term used for the black slave, and cracker was the one holding the whip, and sometimes they were black and most of the time they were white. And the redneck was the term for the white slave because our necks would get so red in the sun. So there weren't just black slaves, there were also white slaves, people who refused to go along with the system. And there were 7 slaves that got put to death for murdering their master. White slaves were part of that same resistance. My family was those white slaves, by the way. Long, long, long time ago. And I'm not like, oh my goodness, they were slaves. I want, what do you call that? What do people say that they want? They want like a bunch of money or whatever in return. It's really stupid. I think they're fools. They were never truly there, so it shouldn't affect them at all. They should just grow up. Just saying. Excuse me. Next was the Mexicans. Yeah, Columbus literally after, well, I'm not sure if it was still Columbus, but the British Empire, after they had raped the natives, they went and raped the Mexicans, or raped them. The Mexicans are like a raped people. That's how they came to be, which is really sad to think. A lot of the world is like that. The military was just a monster. Henry David Thoreau refused to pay taxes and started a Mexican war, lost and was locked up. Espionage Act still exists. Anti-spy lies, double talk. That's what the Espionage Act was. It was like, oh, we're here for the people, but only if you respect our authority. And our authority is we're going to strip you of your rights. Oh, no, we're for the people if you respect us. Demon worshippers. Double talking. Anti-spy lies because they were actually spying on you. Those anti-spy lies were them saying, we have the right to spy on you now. Thank you. Oxford Dictionary. At one point, the definition of black, or like another form of black, was distasteful. Oxford Dictionary had once had the definition of black, and one of the pieces there was distasteful. Isn't that disgusting? Hurts my brain just thinking about it. I make a lot of jokes, but like in the end, it's a serious matter, and people need to grow up. Charles Schnuck, Schenek, Philadelphia, arrested for printing and distributing leaflets in support of the people. He was telling people not to join the military because they were going to war for illegal reasons and killing people for their own purposes and not for the freedom of their own country like they were told, and he was arrested for that. Dubious, Boyce, Bois, anti-spy, indicted, trialed and guilty, 6 months in jail for distributing that. And Eugene Debs did 10 years for obstruction of the recruitment and enlistment service. 10 years. Eugene, E-U-G-E-N-E, and then Debs, D-E-B-S, did 10 years for obstruction of the recruitment and enlistment service. That's your government that threw you in jail for disrupting them from taking citizens and throwing them into boats and then sending them to Korea and Vietnam and World War II and World War I, which America said in World War I, this will be the war to end all wars. They literally supported it 110% of the way. And they were taking male privileges of magazines who printed anti-war sentiments. Fairchild, they can shoot me, but they can't make me fight. He spent 1 year in jail. and 65,000. I'm not sure if they were just all men, but like soldiers. But 65,000 people conscientiously objected to do their jobs because it was unconstitutional and they knew it was wrong. And the government treated them statistically, tortured them, and then when the war ended in 1918, government just tried to cover it up. And Hemingway, Heming way, farewell to arms is what he said, and Dalton, Dalton, Trumbo, Trumbo, Johnny got his gun. So they said farewell to guns, and then the other one was like, yeah, he got his gun, but they work for the same organization. Wars are always accompanied by lies and deception. And then the Georgia Stones. Alberta, Elberta County, 90 miles east of Atlanta, USA, Highway 77. First thing it says, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Again, about 500 million people in North America, and we could fit all of Canada into California, like half of it. So they just want to have their perfect slave race of people. Number 2, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. So anyone they consider poor is not going to be allowed to produce. In other words, if you're not rich, you're not allowed to produce. 3, unite humanity with a living new language, whatever that means. Number 4, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. So any form of passion, any form of your faith, any form of your tradition, they're all ruled by this government. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts, under the fact that they're just going to kill off anyone who's above 500 million because they feel like it. And they rule your faith and your passion and everything you do, but it's going to be with fair laws and just courts. Fair for the rich and well-connected. That's what I'm telling you right now. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. The UN is supposed to be a world court, and it's not even allowed to tell America to stop being a terrorist without being sanctioned by the US. Excuse me. Number 7, avoid petty laws and useless officials. So anyone who doesn't do as they say is a useless official. Number 8, balance personal rights with social duties. 9, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Demon worship, by the way. And Satan, infinite. I don't know why he got that symbol, but okay. So you have to be completely tolerant, as we've learned that's what love means in this society, is to be completely tolerant. Beauty, so a bunch of makeup. If you look like a clown, you're not allowed to say anything about your disgusting face. Anyways, 10, be not a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature, leave room for nature. It says it twice. Be not a cancer on the earth, but that's literally what they're going to be to us, is a cancer to us. Which kind of sucks. Oh yes, Samboism also means to, just because you get called a criminal, you act like a criminal. That's what Samboism is. For-profit prisons, Jamaica and Haiti raped by the British and French. Jihadist Patrick, give me liberty or death. I shall never accept anything less. Yeah, they called him a jihadist because he said, give me liberty or give me death. I shall never accept anything less. The American government called him a terrorist because he said that. give me liberty, give me my freedom, or give me death. And they said, you're a terrorist. Sounds really Canadian. I know because I live there. Carnegie, Carnegie, OG Willie Randolph Hearst, Hearst, Farouk, Farouk, Leona. There's a space missing. I was supposed to write something and I didn't. That's not very smart. Louis the 13th, Scott Rothstein, Jack Abramoff, embezzlement, Confederate rhetoric, every gold mine in South Africa, overthrow governments, paid politicians, freezing assets, Kenneth Lay, faked death, slush funds, CIA traitors and dictators, Al-Qaeda, 9/11, IMF, Banco, Banco, Ambrosiano, Ambrosiano, Il Vaticano, activists, Federal Reserve, cops, email, Facebook, Twitter, all the phone companies, World Bank, interest rate, the rich don't pay taxes, medical control, 1776, Illuminati, MDCCLXXVI, Novus, Novus, Ordo, ORDO, Seclorum, SECLORUM, which I believe is Order of the New World or New World Order. I could be mistaken. Annuit, ANNUIT, Coeptus, COE. The O and the E are like connected. PTIS, 13 degrees. L pluribus, or E pluribus, E, and then PLURIBUS, and then all capital letters, UNUM, and then Skull and Bones, structure of Freemasonry, chemical trails, church yearly robbery, 12th month, 25th day is the birth of Nimrod, 325 AD, Constantine, IXO with a dash in the middle of it, capital Y. These are all capital letters, by the way. IXOY, fancy capital E. And there's an O with a line in the middle of it. And then, yes, here we go. Tuskegee syphilis study. TUSKEGEE syphilis, SYPHILIS study, 1932 to 1972, group of 400 African American men. They chose, well, black, that's what that means. Over 200 dead, National Research Act. So they stuck them with syphilis. They killed over 400 people. Over 200 died. They stuck them all with syphilis. And they just considered it in the National Research Act, so it was totally legal for them to do that. Yay, America, hey? I mean, obviously that's not even a joke. That's just a disgusting statement. Maddox incident, MADDOX incident, which is also the Gulf of Tonkin. If you ever looked up the Gulf of Tonkin, you should, because America had no business being there. It never happened. It was a fishing boat that they said attacked them. And again, they were fishing, and they just shot at them. The U.S. did. So the 8th month, the 2nd day, 1964, Gulf of Tonkin resolution, USS Maddox, North Vietnamese torpedo. Only Vietnam took casualties. 8th month, 4th day, 1964. Internal National Security Agency, 2005. Declassified. Offered to the public. NSA. Policymakers sway in favor. That is one of the greatest pieces in history where America was slapped around for committing treason. They invaded a country, they bombed 3 other ones in the process of bombing Vietnam, and they still lost, sent packing, and everyone who was killed was justifiably killed. Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BCCI scandal, Luxembourg, Luxembourg, 1980s, U.S. Customs Service operation, fake wedding, John Kerry, BCCI affair, a report to the Committee on Foreign Relations, centralized regulatory review, bank secrecy, jurisdictions, international bankers, corruption confirmed. Yeah, they, I think it was a scam of some kind. It was really bad. And yeah, it was true. They all did it. They were all part of it, and they all were happily along with it. For the money. I don't think much happened to them. CIA funded media outlets and documents 1950s to 1970s, funded domestic foreign journalists to publish propaganda. Time, the Washington Post, the New York Times, CBS, and others. Animal Farm filmed, funded, based on the novel of George Orwell. The Church Committee, 1975, intelligence agencies, government ops. So Time, the Washington Post, the New York Times, CBS, the Wall Street Journal, CNN, all that, they're all fake news. Every single one of them. Key, 1960s. The Mafia, leader in American society, U.S. government heavily involved, mafia affairs, Joe Valachi, Valachi, incriminating secrets, inner working of the mafia, government-controlled organized crime, CIA, law enforcement, politicians, some of the biggest businesses in the world were involved. Government creates crime so that the public trust law enforcement, and government controls police brutality. That is how they get ya. It's legal. We passed a law. Who cares about the Constitution? Who cares about freedom? Who cares about the lives of others? Money. Did you say money? Did you say oil? Get out of the way. Manhattan Project, a bomb. U.S. codename First Atomic Bomb. World War II, UK, Canada helped secret testing grounds, nuke towns. $2 billion in U.S. taxpayers' money. Silence still means security. Silence still means security. 1942 to 1946. Almost 30 sites across the nation. No media coverage by law citizens. Were never told. 1950s. Hanford site. Plutonium. Oak Ridge Site, uranium enrichment, Los Alamos National Lab, weapon research and design. 30 sites. They bombed. They nuked 30 sites, testing this stuff, costing over $2 billion. And not only that, but when they bombed these places, they didn't tell the surrounding areas, and they didn't warn them about anything. They didn't say anything to them. They just let them think that what was happening to them was just a coincidence. Because that's America for you. Still don't think you were built upon slavery? Still don't think you're a slave? Come on, Trump, it's time to grow up. Counterintelligence activists, 1960, FBI special sanction, COINTELPRO, studied, disrupted, and infiltrated political and social justice groups that were seen as J. Edgar Hoover disruptive to the social constructs of the COINTELPRO targeted communist and socialist groups wasn't very negative in society's eyes. That was the COINTELPRO was to stop the Black Panthers from successfully impeaching Nixon and getting their rights back. And people just called them terrorists and fools, idiots, and it was like, yo, they fought for your freedom. And the FBI intervened, fired a couple shots, and backed off, and the Black Panthers is now the Bloods and the Crips. Good job, government. Anything for that money. Anything for your next hit. FBI targeted Martin Luther King Jr., women's rights organizations, the AACP, Congress of Racial Equality, American Indian Movement, Students for a Democratic Society, National Lawyers Guild, groups protesting the Vietnam War, individual student organizations proven to be victims to COINTELPRO, 85% covered by COINTELPRO resources, 15% covered by white hate groups, KKK, FBI admitted in the late 1970s. They did all that. All that stuff I just mentioned, FBI targeted all the way down the list, every single one of them. And they used white hate groups like the KKK, and they admitted to doing it in the 1970s, and no one cares. Sad. Operation Northwoods, Joint Chiefs and Staff for the U.S. Military Chairman Lehman, Lyman, Lehman Lemnitzer, Lemnitzer, 1962, planned terrorist attacks on U.S. land, Americans being shot at in the street, boats carrying Cuban refugees to be sunk, violent terrorism in Washington, D.C., Miami, and other landmarks, plane hijacks, bombings, and an aircraft taking out a plane full of college students, American militia blamed on Fidel Castro and his forces, sway public opinion to support War Department of State. President John F. Kennedy rejected the plans. Third month, 13th day, 1962. Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, McNamara, JFK, believing that American forces bombed the towns from within. They did. All those things that were mentioned, they were all plans they were trying to do, and they did do them. They actually used supposed airplanes and bombed things and did all that crazy stuff in the name of gaining support to go and kill people. And of course, Fidel Castro didn't actually do anything wrong in his country. The government just wanted a piece of land. And so they were going to go there and they were going to take it. And anyone who disagreed, like those 65,000 soldiers, they will be tortured and punished. Operation Paperclip, allowing Nazis into America, Hitler's regime, new identities, false background info. They literally gave them everything. They took all their best scientists, all their best technology, everything they could possibly grab that was of value to them. They grabbed and they used it. They committed terrorism. Complete acts of terrorism. I'm just going to read this one part. This is part of my constitution, where I'm from. Part 1, Bill of Rights, Recognition and Declaration of Rights and Freedoms. 1. It is hereby recognized and declared that in Canada there have existed and shall continue to exist without discrimination by reason of race, in my opinion that's ethnicity, national origin, color, religion, or sex the following human rights and fundamental freedoms, namely: A, the right of the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, and enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived thereof except by due process of law, under the Oakes test, by the way, which only is it in here? Because all three answers have to be a yes, or the law is null and void to be tossed in the garbage. And you can only violate the Constitution in the most minuscule way possible. That's what the Oakes test is. B, the right of the individual to equality before the law and the protection of the law. And then down the list, freedom of speech. D, construction of law. 2, every law of Canada shall, unless it is expressly declared by an act of the Parliament of Canada that it shall operate notwithstanding the Canadian Bill of Rights, but so be so construed and applied as not to abrogate, abridge, or infringe, or to authorize the abrogation or infringement or abridgment or infringement of any of the rights or freedoms herein recognized and declared, and in particular, no law of Canada shall be construed or applied so as to E, deprive a person of the right to a fair hearing in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice for the determination of his rights and obligations. R. V. Oakes, 1986. 1. SCR 103, file number 17,550. Instructions: notice to disclose application before you begin. 3. Remember that in most cases when you serve a notice to disclose on the other party, you have the same obligation to give them your finance information. This has to be something related to something. Citizen 4. I'm only at 32 minutes. I'm going to read Citizen 4 because I like that. There's 3. Canada versus People. That's a song. Is it? Not depending how long it is. By the time I finish this, I'll probably read the other ones. Citizen 4. This is about Edward Snowden. This is really good information, and I strongly suggest looking it all up. In the 9th month, 2013, the European Parliament begins hearings to investigate NSA surveillance on EU citizens and companies. J. Appelbaum, Appelbaum, T. Orting, Oerting, L. Levision, Levison, William Binney, Binney, expert witness Jeremy Scahill, Scahill, investigative journalist. In 2016, I was placed on a secret watch list after making a film about the Iraq War. In the following years, I was detained and interrogated at the U.S. border dozens of times. My next film was about Guantanamo Bay and the War on Terror. This film is the third part of a trilogy about America post 9/11. Glenn Greenwald, Salon, Salon, or Salon.com, 2011. In the 12th month, 2012, an anonymous source contacts Glenn Greenwald. They are not able to establish a secure communication method, so their correspondence stalls. A month later, I start receiving anonymous encrypted emails. I asked why I picked you. You asked why I picked you. I didn't. You did. The surveillance you've experienced means you've been selected, a term which will mean more to you as you learn about how the modern SIGINT, SIGINT, all capital letters, The modern SIGINT system works. For now, know that every border you cross, every purchase you make, every call you dial, every cell phone tower you pass, friend you keep, anticipate you, article you write, site you visit, subject line you type, and packet you route is in the hands of a system whose reach is unlimited but whose safeguards are not. Email from first month 2013 document facility. Text TECSII incident log remark name Laura Poitras LOITRAS subject Laura Poitras DOB arrived at New York Liberty International Airport via flight CO69 from Stockholm, Sweden. Upon arrival, subject Petrus was referred to secondary where a 100% baggage exam was conducted and 5 W's were asked. Subject to returning from a 6-day trip to follow up with an Iraqi refugee family living in Sweden, Miss Poitras stated that they were part of her 2006 documentary, My Country, My Country. During questioning, subject Poitras took extensive notes and recorded the names of interviewing officers. All documents were photocopied. U.S. Customs and Border Protection logs. Subject refused to allow CBPO officers to make copies of pocket trash and travel documents. 1330 CBPOs met Pax Laura Petras at gate A6 JFK IAT. Pax arrived on flight EK 201 1335. Subject was brought in to full primary to CBPO 1345. CBPO requested info 1400. Bags were checked by CPBO. Negative results. Subject refused to allow officers to make copies of any documents in her bags. I don't know why they're trying to make documents. Like, that's pure terrorism. You cannot justify that in any way, shape, or form. That is a complete violation of the Constitution. You are committing treason. You deserve the death penalty, in my opinion. Subject was also taking down officers' names during this process. 1415. By the way, those are the time. Upon receiving clearance, subject was escorted out of the FIS area without any incident. During the baggage search, Pax Petros engaged in conversation, stating that this was the 15th time she had been stopped and escorted from the flight and questioned. Pax Petros stated that she was a filmmaker and made the documentary film My Country about the war in Iraq. Pax stated that since her film was released, she has been getting escorted from the plane into secondary every time she enters the U.S. Pax Poitras also stated that she has contacted Senator, again, I left it space because I was supposed to stick a name there, and other government representatives about her being flagged, and yet she still is stopped every time she enters the U.S. PAU. I moved to Berlin to protect my film footage from being seized at the U.S. border. When the first emails arrived, I increased security. William Binney is a legendary NSA crypto mathematician. During the Cold War, he analyzed nuclear threats. In the 90s, he shifted his focus to the internet and developed methods of mass data analysis. Laura Poitras, Kristen Johnson, Katie Scoggin, Scoggin, filmed by Trevor Paglin, Paglen. Yes. $320 million AT&T. William Binney Hope Conference 1 week after 9/11. Spying begins. Stellar Wint Yes Committee. Hayden Tenant DOJ, yes committee, the NSA has built the world's largest repository for intercepted communications in Buffdale, Utah. I started filming the site in 2011 when construction began. Email from second month 2013. Keith Alexander, NSA Congressional 2012 hearing. Presidential Policy Directive 20, William Kenzo Nakamura, NAKAMURA, United States Courthouse, U.S. Court of Appeals, Ninth Circuit. In 2016, technician Mark Klein, KLEIN, revealed that the NSA was tapping into AT&T's network in San Francisco. Customers filed a lawsuit years later. The litigation is still at the preliminary phase. Jewel versus National Security Agency. Thomas Burren, BIRREN, talking mad stuff. Jacob Appelbaum, Occupy Wall Street, security training. Senate hearing with General James Clapper, Director of National Intelligence, 2013. Clapper's lies to Mr. Wyden, WYDEN, about NSA. After months of anonymous communication, the source agrees to meet. I travel to New York and wait for instructions. RSync program, RSYNC program, or SSH to the server. Those are just server names. I'm not sure why I saved the server names. The 6th month, 3rd day, 2013. Minutes after meeting, I set up the camera and started filming an encounter that will unfold over 8 days. State power against the people's ability to meaningfully oppose that power. Methods to amplify that state power. Policy change makes it impossible to impose such power. Obama administration did the exact opposite from what they said. NSA can watch live drone strikes. Yeah, Obama pissed on the Bill of Rights. Like, excuse me, YahWeh, for my perverse language. He peed on the Bill of Rights. All over it. Took a big dump all over it. Used it as toilet paper and threw it in the garbage. And people were like, yeah, Obama, first black president. Actually, he was the second because the first black president was assassinated. The internet was self-policed, not anymore. Curtailment of intellectual freedom or jail. Jail? The Guardian, where Glenn Greenwald is now working, also sends investigative reporter Ewen, EWEN, Macaskill, MACASKILL, vast majority mass collection setups, ES, not sure what ES stands for, defense contractor, military family, Tempora, TEMPL, Templora, TEMPLORA, GCHQ, program intrusive. Day 4, new phones, home, have listed chips even when it's off. Visual collection caution. When it's off and it still has the listen chips, that means they're still listening to you when you're just sitting at home. And they think that's totally okay. The Constitution doesn't matter to them at all. Visual collection caution. Who did Edward Snowden work for? He worked for the NSA. SSO, US and international, X key score, 125 gigs second, 2 billion device. 6 hours later, Glenn Greenwald published his first story. Booz Allen. Live CNN, millions of Americans' phone records seized. U.S. tracking Verizon calls. CNN court order. NSA is tracking Verizon phone calls. Company ordered to turn over records for millions of Americans. Patriot Act, which says they can do that, which is a complete violation of the Constitution, therefore null and void. Anyways, and the only reason why CNN is saying this stuff is because they've been busted. There's no way around it, and they know it, so they're just saying it. Day 5, NSA B&E on Snowden home. Day 6, I published the second story in the Washington Post together with journalist Barton Gellman, Gellman. The Guardian reports on the same NSA program soon after. NSA, FBI, live CNN, U.S. tapping into 9 internet firms. Washington Post, secret program to mine data directly from servers. I just want to point out, this is the American government. This isn't China. This is the American government. Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, AOL, Skype, YouTube, Apple, audio, video, photos, emails, documents, connection logs, contacts, all that. They had all of that stuff. And all those people were all in on it. Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, AOL, Skype, YouTube, Apple, they're all in on it. Jesselyn Radak. Jesselyn, Jesselyn, Radak, Radack. Anthony for NSA whistleblowers. Attorney for NSA whistleblowers. Live CNN, NSA reading private messages. Washington Post, Guardian reported on program. Ari Fleischer, Ari Fleischer, Fleischer. CNN political contributor. Politics of spying, fallout from NSA snooping program. NBC News, Washington, UDAQ. Ed Snowden, 29. Booz Allen Hamilton. Infrastructure analysis for NSA Hawaii. Systems engineer, systems administrator, senior advisor, CIA solutions consultant, telecommunications systems information officer. TSSITK and Gamma, GAMA, NSA, privileged access, NSA. 6 month, 10th day, 2013. To avoid the media, we moved to my room. Robert Tibbo, TIBBO, human rights lawyer, UNHCR, Hong Kong, NSA, CSS, JFCC, NW, Century Eagle. Snowden applies for refugee status through the UN and goes underground. I stay in Hong Kong hoping to continue filming but realize I am being followed. 6 days later I return to Berlin. WAPO, WAPO. Oversea cables intercept site for Tempora, TEMPORA, and then dash GCHQ, BUDE, BUDE, UK. On the 6th month, 21st day, 2013, the U.S. government charges Snowden with 3 felonies, 2 under the Espionage Act, which is a violation of the Constitution, therefore the Espionage Act is null and void, and asks Hong Kong to extradite him. 2 days later, WikiLeaks organizes his departure from Hong Kong to seek political asylum, which is another reason why WikiLeaks man is in prison. Because he supported doing the right thing, as always has been supporting to do the right thing, and all those sex claims against him are actually all false and can easily be disproven. But anyways, Sarah Harrison, HARISSON, Brazilian Senate hearing on NSA spying. National security has nothing to do with national security. You heard that right. National security has nothing to do with national security. False defense competition? False defense competition. No permission required outside the USA. An international group of lawyers representing Snowden pro bono meets to discuss his legal status. Yeah, no permission required outside the USA. In other words, the law states in the U.S., under the NSA Act, by the way, that the U.S. government only has to ask its own citizens to spy on them. They don't even do that, but they don't have to ask anyone else. Ben Wisner, Wizner, Snowden's ALCU lawyer. World War I Espionage Act Constitution violation removes accountability. On the 7th month, 20th day, 2013, the UK government pressures The Guardian to destroy the GCHQ archive given to Ewen, EWEN, Macaskill in Hong Kong after 40 days spent in the transit zone of Moscow's Sheremetyev, Sheremetyevo airport. Snowden receives political asylum in Russia for 1 year. NSA surveillance base in the UK Menwith Hill Station. Menwith, Menwith, Menwith Hill Station. On his return from meeting me in Berlin, Glenn Greenwald's partner, David Miranda, is detained at London's Heathrow Airport for 9 hours under the UK's Terrorism Act because he supported freedom of the people. The White House is notified in advance. Brazil demands explanation from UK government. O Globo. In the 9th month, 2013, the European Parliament begins hearings to investigate NSA surveillance on EU citizens and companies. Lavabit removes the service provider. LAVABIT removes the service provider. Liberty is privacy. Surveillance is control. Yeah, all your information that's getting stolen and being passed around to all these companies is the American government. It has nothing to do with China, and all this is very, very much so proof of all of it. Here's another little piece. This Trade and Services Agreement 2016, 9th or 10th, 14th. Oh yeah, Rudolf Christian Karl Diesel. The diesel engine can be fed with vegetable oils and would help considerably in the development of agriculture of the countries which use it. That is what he said. It is a quotation from him. The use of vegetable oils for engine fuels may seem insignificant today, but such oils may become in course of time as important as petroleum and the coal tar products of the present time. Death ruled a suicide in 1913. Death ruled a suicide. He was shot in the back of the head and was found face down in a lake. And he was ruled a suicide because he said that vegetable oil was just as good as the oil that the Zionists are seeking that makes them all that money. And they were like, we can't have that. And they shot him. That was on the 29th, 2013, or not 2013, in 1913. Yeah. Of, in the 9th month. Oh yeah. I got a bunch of things I could totally read, but I could probably turn that into another video. It's that CSIS Bill C-51 stuff here in Canada. This is almost an hour, so I'm just going to stop this one. Praise YahWeh for information, knowledge, and understanding, strength, and endurance to do what's right in your eyes. I'm like stretching, and then I look over and I realize I'm stretching to pushing my cat right off the bed. He's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.